This is Dr. Chris's radio horror program at 91.3 FM, WCW in Worcester. If you're not listening to us live during this recorded interview, hopefully you're catching this out on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Returning to the show after a few years of being away and to talk about the new Netflix television series based on his creation, as well as an upcoming series of scary stories to talk about. We have author Jonathan Maberry back on the show with us. Thank you for coming back on the show with us, Jonathan.
Hey, it's great to be back, too.
Jonathan, when we last left you back in the eons of time, I think the last time you came on the show was in 2014, 2013, you were going to be putting out another V-Wars novel, and there was a V-Wars comic book series out from IDW, which I have every issue of, with the exception of the one-shot that came out last year. But we haven't seen any V-Wars comics, and the novel disappeared. What happened with all that?
Well, this is kind of the vagaries of publishing. The company that put out the V-Wars books, IDW, is primarily a comic book company. And back when the V-Wars books were put out, all of their books were distributed through Diamond, which predominantly distributes to comic book stores. And they were not really used to distributing prose books, non-illustrated books. So the books went up in comic book stores and didn't do great because people don't go to comic book stores to buy novels. So because the sales were soft for the series, even though it was critically acclaimed, they ended it after book 4. But, that was also the time when they were starting to shop it around for a possible TV show. So now we have a TV show, which is a hit TV show. So we are back in discussions for continuing the anthology series. I think we've sold more copies of the anthology series in a couple of minutes we've been talking than in the years leading up to the show, because now it's distributed through regular channels to bookstores.
That's fantastic news. That seems to happen a lot. I mean, The Witcher as well. They said that the books had been printing like crazy, and people went on PlayStation Network and downloaded the hell out of The Witcher 3, like nuts, when the TV series debuted. So I guess I was definitely suspecting the same thing to happen to V-Wars. And my local comic book shop said, the trade paperbacks have been doing very well for us as well, and we don't have any of the individual back issues in stock anymore.
No, I think all the back issues are sold out, including multiple printings sold out. And the comic book did really well. I had only intended to ever do like 6 issues of it. They talked me into doing, which was one story. They talked me into doing a couple more. So we did a total of about 12, issues 0 through 11.
Yep.
And that's collected in the graphic novel.
Yep. I have all 11 issues actually right here in my hand right now, and I guarantee someone's listening to this being like, why aren't they polybagged? You should have them boarded. Are you touching them with your hands without gloves on? What if Jonathan dies tomorrow? They're going to be worth even more. I'm going to be like, all right, calm down.
I've got a big box of each issue in storage, and they are bagged and boarded. But then we did that one shot, V-Wars God of Death, which was a lot of fun. We did that early last year.
Yes, and I just ordered a copy of it from IDW because I didn't know about it until while looking for photos to post on my website for this episode.
Yeah, it's weird how, some things just fly under the radar. Plus I have a lot of material out, so it can, things can get kind of lost in the social media shuffle.
Uh-huh.
But we are talking about new V-Wars comics, new V-Wars books, and maybe even a nonfiction book associated with V-Wars, talking about the different vampire subtypes from different world cultures that play into the story.
So how does the TV series relate to the comic books and the 3 novels that are out, and what parts are like completely made up for the show? Because I've read the first novel, I haven't read the second 2 prose novels, but I read every issue of the comic book, but I'm not the Bible expert like you.
Here's the thing about TV. There's something called a line producer. A line producer goes in and budgets out how much everything is going to cost. We do a lot of damage to whole cities in the V-Wars books.
Right.
So to really shoot the book as written would be about $20 million an episode. It'd be about like Game of Thrones money. And that's not going to happen. So when they were budgeting out, what they wanted to do with V-Wars, they had a certain liberty in terms of cast and production. And they also wanted to keep some money aside for the right actors, Ian Somerhalder, our star, for example, being a really great choice. So what they did is they took a couple of the storylines from the books and, used them as the basis for the show, but also made some changes. And I kind of agree with the changes. They work really well for television. They wouldn't have worked, I think, as well in book form, but they work really well in television. A good example of which is the main character, Luther Swan, is in the books. He's a folklorist. He's a professor of folklore who is an expert on the different types of vampires, called in to consult the police when somebody commits a series of crimes that appear to be somebody pretending to be a vampire or thinking they're a vampire. In the show, he's a research physician because a folklorist who basically sits behind the desk is not sexy on television, whereas a research physician who's running around trying to find the cure it works better on TV. So they made that change. Mm-hmm. The other change they made is the villain in the original story was a Starbucks barista who had been exposed to this plague from melting polar ice, and he was not known to the character of Luther Swan at the beginning of the story. They met when he was when Swan was brought in to interrogate him to try to find out why he's pretending to be a vampire. In the show, they decided to make those two characters best friends their whole lives, so that you can see the dynamic. It kind of distills down the intolerance and racism dynamic that's in the books down to two characters who suddenly become different from one another, and we see how that plays out. So it allowed them to be a microcosm for the larger story in the books, and I very much agree with those types of changes for TV.
It is funny that they got an actor who's been on that was on one vampire show playing a vampire for the longest time is on another show now hunting vampires.
Yeah, and he did some soul searching before he took that role. Oh, I'm sure. It's not because he was necessarily drawn back to the world of vampires, but because the subtext, the political and social subtext of the series, really squares with his personal politics and social consciousness, and he wanted to explore those issues in the framework of the show. So that's what drew him to it. The fact that it's vampires, is like, okay, well, it's a vampire show. My fans are gonna have to just deal with it. And it turns out they're dealing with it really well. They're digging the fact that he's in this show, but in a different type of role.
Oh, yeah, and just so do we know going forward or whatever, not that you have or whatever, we are going to be broadcasting this, so we must keep all in all swearing to any type of minimum.
Yeah, okay.
Completely different. Like, he is a pretentious jerk butthole on the Vampire Diaries, just like the loathsome, evil character who just weasels away in any girl's underwear in any way he can just for a quick snack. On this show, he's charismatic, he's a father, he's a great, he's a scientist, he's this good guy. It shows that Ian Soderheim, how do you say Somerhalder is an amazing actor.
He is. He's got a lot of range, and he also, has a skill set that, hasn't necessarily been tapped yet in the show, but will be if we go to second season, in that he's really good at comedy, and he has a lot of emotional range.
Right.
So we're looking forward to exploring all that, should we get our second season pickup.
It's also funny. This is also, for just in case anyone leaves this in the comment section, this is his third vampire production, because he was also in a movie called Vampire Clan.
Really? Even I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe that is the same actor. Oh, hold on a second. Let me... Vampire Clan. I might have the wrong actor from the wrong friggin' thing. No, I'm sorry. That was not him. Okay, I'm going to edit that entire part out. That was somebody else from one of the CW shows.
And, we also have actors from other monster and weird shows. Laura Vandervoort, who plays a vampire in V-Wars, was not only Supergirl in Smallville, but she was, a werewolf in Bitten.
Right, that's right.
And in V.
Yep, oh my God, she is, I met her at a convention, a couple of years ago, and, cause I believe she was in she was in the last Saw movie, wasn't she?
Probably, and in the remake of Rabid, and, she does a lot of work. She's in a lot of different things.
She's in the Soska Sisters remake of Rabid?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I haven't seen that yet.
I'm pretty sure she's the star of it.
Okay, that's awesome, cause my heart pitter-patters, seeing her. Having met her in real life, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's an absolute sweetheart. We've become quite good friends. Actually, that's one of the fun things for me as as a pop culture nerd who's now playing in the professional end of this, I get to be, I became friends with so many of the actors who were in shows that I've been watching for years. Like, Ian and I are really close. Adrian Holmes, who played Michael Fane, we've become good buds. He was in Arrow and a bunch of other things. Michael Grey Eyes, who was in a whole season of Fear the Walking Dead when they were set on the Native American lands. He was the head of the Native American group. But he was also in True Detective season 3, the Junkman. He's been in a ton of different things, and he's one of my favorite character actors. There are a bunch of folks who I've become friends with. Kyle Brightcop, who plays the son of Ian, he and his mom are both friends of mine now, and it's crazy to become friends with people who you have seen in hundreds of hours of TV and film.
Before we move away from V-Wars, talking about the individual comic books, my favorite thing about the first 5 issues before the next 5 issues was that Kevin Eastman did the covers for the first 6 issues, including issue 0, the free comic book day issue.
Yeah, he did variant covers for us. He did the only cover for the free comic book day one, but he did the variant covers. Ryan Brown did the primary covers, and Ryan's art is amazing. But Kevin's art going back to Ninja Turtles, he's been that artist, creative in Ninja Turtles with Jim Laird. And for Christmas a couple of years ago, he gave me the original art for one of the V-Wars covers. Kevin's,
wow.
And totally decent stand-up guy, and I love his art.
Yeah, I got to meet him. I met him several times, and recently, again last year, got 5 minutes to talk to him, just before having to move along the line. But I got 20 minutes alone with him in a room once that was supposed to be a round table of reporters just talking to him, and nobody showed up for it. And I was like, what?
That's crazy that nobody showed up.
Nobody came, and I was the only one, and his girlfriend was like, okay, I'm going to be back in like 20, 25 minutes. If you guys want a copy, I'll come back even faster. Kevin, you can just text me. Chris, the room is yours. And he just turns around and stares at me, and he's like, so what do you want to talk about? I was like,
that's nuts.
I was like frozen. I'm like, where is everybody? And she's like, no, you're the only one who came.
Hey, good for you for showing up,
Oh, yeah, because she gave me the info the day before. Yeah, she gave me the info the day before because I asked him, does he do interviews? And she's like, yeah, we're actually going to be doing a private interview session, Q&A, roundhouse with other reporters. This is the room number. Come down. Come here at 11 a.m. Because he's not going to be at his table until noon. And I was like, sure. So I came, 11 a.m. I was the only one, so it was perfect.
Kevin's a great guy. We've been on panel discussions together, and also done a bunch of signings. And it's typically a very humbling thing to do a signing with Kevin for 2 reasons. One, I may have a good line. His line is in a different zip code. It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
And also, he's like the nicest guy in the world. He will stay at that table until everybody's stuff is signed. He talks to every kid, does a little drawing for everyone. He's a freaking great guy, and anyone who loves the Turtles, there's a lot of him in those characters, in the heart of those characters. Even though he didn't write the stories, there's a lot of him in those characters. And he's still drawing it with Tom Waltz, who's been writing it for the comic now for 100 issues. Kevin's still out there drawing.
Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention that came out in between the last time we spoke, because it was a V-Wars board game.
Yep.
How is it? Because I didn't play it.
The rules are written by Rob Davio, who's this award-winning game designer, and I get crushed every time I play it. I have not won a game yet. And I'm not talking about just losing. I'm talking about crushed. So
step right up and beat the creator in his own game.
Exactly. If my wife thinks it's endearing, I personally do not.
This is like you're the creator of the creator of, I don't know, baseball or something, whatever, or just it sounds so silly.
It does, and it's another humbling experience. Lately, though, when I've been asked to come and do a demonstration of the board game.
Oh, no.
I will bring along someone who knows how to play it really well and let them kick 10 kinds of ass, and I'll just stand around looking smug and give out prizes. And everyone thinks, he just probably doesn't want to play us because he doesn't want us to feel overwhelmed by him. If they only knew.
You should have him like whispering in your ear, like in a Bluetooth thing or whatever. Okay, so he did that. Now you need to do this.
Yeah. If I was Blofeld or no, Goldfinger, that's exactly what I'd be doing. But no, I just get humiliated playing the game. So it is a fun game, though. That's the thing. It's a kick-ass game. If you're a serious gamer, it's a serious game. I am not a serious gamer. And I do not bring the right skill set to play the game based on my own books. That is sad, but that is the truth.
So, when can we expect the fourth volume to finally be released?
Fourth volume?
Third volume.
No, fourth of the books?
Of the V-Wars, yeah, sorry. Are we on book 3 or 4?
The first 4 books have been out for years.
Okay, so would that be volume 5 then?
Yeah, volume 5, a lot of it will depend on whether we are picked up for a second season.
Okay.
Because that's what's going to give us the mojo to keep going with the books. But I like the rumors I'm hearing around the shop that about how likely that is. So I'm not going to say it's definite, but it would be really surprising considering how well the show did and in so many markets. It was released in 197 markets around the world. I think we were number 1 in like 120 of them or 130 of them. So, that's pretty good math for a TV show.
And you have a new series of stories coming up, kind of akin to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's called...
Don't Turn Out the Lights. It actually is very much akin to it. It is the official tribute anthology to Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I was asked to edit it, and I brought with me a kick-ass list of writers. I've got, who do I have in this? I have R.L. Stine. I have Barry Lyga. I have Josh Malerman, who did Bird Box. Cami Garcia, who did Beautiful Creatures. I have Luis Alberto Urrea, who was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. Madeline Rue. Margaret Stoll, who did, the Mighty Captain America from Marvel. And Sherilyn Kenyon, New York Times #1 bestseller of a gazillion novels. And just the list goes on and on and on. These top writers all wanted to write scary stories for me. So I put in 35 writers to write stories for me. And it's a kick-ass anthology. It comes out, I think, September 1st is our street date. We haven't yet released the cover of it because they're still tweaking a little bit. It's a cool cover. And it's coming out from HarperCollins. And I'm very excited. I'm very honored to have been asked to be the editor of this. I just wrapped issue 5 in terms of writing of Pandemica, which is being published by the same people who did V-Wars. The first 3 issues are already out. It is a science fiction comic about a group using cutting-edge genetics, a CRISPR gene editing technology, to create ethnic bioweapons. So, it deals with racism and intolerance, and the first 3 issues are done really well. 2 more coming out for that story. And then got a couple other projects I can't talk about, but if things go the way it looks like they're going to go, I'll be getting back into comics in a big way this year. So more on that soon. But yeah, I took a break from comics, partly because I just had so many novels to write. Some years I'm writing 3 or 4 novels, and it's a lot of work. This year I'm doing 3 novels, but I'm faster at it than I used to be, and I'm doing a bunch of novellas, including some Audible originals, and doing more comic book work.
Do you feel like death follows you around in your writing?
Follows my characters around, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I don't write happy, cheery stories. Most writers are not in the business, in fact, of giving a cast of nice characters a good day.
No.
We write stories about crisis. So my stuff, since I write science fiction, fantasy, horror, thrillers, mystery, they tend to have a body count in each one. And but the death and pain of the characters is never the point of my story. It's a means to an end to be able to tell a more powerful story about something else. We use crisis as a way of drawing the audience in so they'll pay attention to the story, and then you can go pretty much anywhere you need to go with it.
Is there any media that you haven't tackled yet that you'd love to get into, something you've always wanted to do? play movies or anything? Because I don't. I mean, you haven't worked in. Movies.
There are some things. I mean, I started out my first. I mean, I started out writing nonfiction, but my first interactive stuff, I did a couple of experimental plays way back in the early '80s that were performed at Temple University as part of an MFA program for directors. I was not in the program, but a friend of mine was, and I wrote a couple of these experimental plays for him. So that kind of gave me a taste for it. Since then, I've worked in novels, comic books of all different kinds, short stories, original audio works, and of course now I'm working with the TV show. Next, if we get a second season, there's a good chance I may write an episode, but also would like to write a movie script at some point, and hopefully for something that will actually be produced. I don't want to write anything just for the vanity of it. I actually want to write things that are going to be made, and so I pick my battles, carefully. I'm not writing for the paycheck per se. I'm writing actually to be read or to be enjoyed, and I can pick and choose my projects that way, so that I don't write something that, like I know I have some friends who write a lot of movie scripts, and they sell a lot of movie scripts, but none of them are getting made. That would frustrate me too much to write something that had little or no chance of actually being produced. There's no appeal for that, not even for a paycheck. And I already turned down a paycheck to do a movie script. It was something, and I won't name it, non-disclosure agreement, but it was a movie franchise that was part of the genre that we sometimes refer to as torture porn.
Yikes.
Very extreme horror, and I am in no way a fan of that kind of horror because it's often exploitive. So even though it was a big paycheck, I did turn it down. So I don't write just for the money. I mean, granted, I like money. I grew up poor. I'm doing okay now, but I grew up poor. But I don't write. Money is not enough of a draw. There also has to be some other element, and I want my stuff to be read. I want people to enjoy what I write, or at least have the opportunity to read it and decide whether they enjoy it. I write so that my stuff can be shared. I'm a storyteller. I want my stories to be told, not to sit somewhere in, a file, like as an unproduced script. So if it looks like there's an opportunity for me to write a movie script of something that will get made, then I will almost certainly want to do that. But there are also some things just in the creative fields I'm in. There are some genres of fiction I haven't done yet. There's some genres of comics I haven't done yet, and I intend to do them. I'm not slowing down anytime soon. Yeah, I love audiobooks. I was invited maybe a little over a year ago, year and a half ago, to write an original audio short story for Audible as a kind of a Halloween present. For the first 3 or 4 weeks that it was up, they gave it away. Now, mind you, I got paid, which is nice, but they gave it away. It was my Halloween present to anyone who likes horror, and it got a really good following. It's called Lullaby. And then they put it up for sale, and it wound up going on to be the #1 short story on Audible that year in 2018, which really surprised me and pleased me. But I love audio. When I read for pleasure, it's almost exclusively audio because I'm doing something while I'm doing that. I'm either on the treadmill at the gym or driving or whatever, and audiobooks really allow me to relax while also reading, and so yeah, big audiobook fan, writing and listening to.
The audiobook series that we're working on, which has been successful, is we turned Sunstone, the audiobook, the comic book, into an audiobook.
Fantastic. I'll have to go look for it. Is it available on Audible?
Because it's based on Stephen Sedgwick's work. I don't know if you've ever met him before. But no, it's not available on Audible because I don't know how to stick an audiobook on Audible for free, and I can't charge for this because this is like a fan passion project.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But, Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on the show again to talk about the V-Wars television series. Been a really big fan of it. Been really happy with it. I definitely hope it gets renewed for a second season. And I look forward to more of your work coming out, and I will check out Pandemic because I have not.
Oh, good, and I hope you enjoy it when it comes out. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but and I've got a really good creative team working with me too, which is wonderful.
Fantastic. Why don't you give out your social media information where people can find you? If they want to send you praise about V-Wars or anything else you've written?
Yeah, I'm all over social media as long as you spell my name right. Most people tend to want to spell my last name M-A-Y. It's not. It's M-A-B-E-R-R-Y. It's spelled like Maberry, but it's pronounced Maberry. Jonathan Maberry. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place, even on Snapchat. And I've got a bunch of stuff coming out this year. I've got the second in the new Joe Ledger Weird Science Thriller series coming out at the end of the year called Relentless. Mm-hmm. First book, Rage, came out this past November. Ink, a novel about a thief who steals the tattoos that are tied to your most precious memories, and he feeds on the memories.
Wow.
So it's a really creepy story. That'll be out in the fall from St. Martin's Griffin. And then, of course, Don't Be Afraid, or Don't Tell Me Out the Life, rather, will be out in the fall. So in the fall, I've got several things coming out. The trade paperback for Pandemica comes out in early summer. And I've got some other stuff that will be announced a little later on, but I'll be chugging. So plus, we got Webtoon going on right now. For those who have never listened to or read a Webtoon, it's comic books formatted for your phone. And Taylor Grant has been adapting my Rot and Ruin young adult post-apocalyptic novel for that, and is killing it. I mean, got like 185 subscribers to it already. 185,000 subscribers to it already.
Wow.
And, yeah, it's blowing up. It's only been out for a week. It's blowing up.
That's fantastic. That's really amazing. Again, Jonathan, thank you so much, and we look forward to the continuation of V-Wars, the TV series, and any secret projects that you mentioned coming up very soon.
All right, thanks for having me on, man.